met de directing door Alex Steffen. And you are watching Eclectic Arts Media.
Yeah, I figured out, so, okay, I could produce this sound. This is so cool.
All right, look here. Hey, this is Alex Story from Cancer Slug. This is Cancer Slug. And you're watching Eclectic Arts Media. See, I said it right.
Going to somewhere like that and playing those places that all those bands that you listen to play.
Hello, Beer Bowling Hearts!
Hello, my name is Richard Winslonaker. I play Hercule Poirot at Taproot and Murder on the Links, and you're watching Eclectic Arts Media.
And then I'm singing and I'm going, I'm not all by myself anymore.
Oh, whoa. Whoa.
I know.
But I find that I have the best fans.
Hello, my name is Kate Yeager, and I play Louise Seeger.
Hi, I'm Cayman Illica, and I play Patsy Cline.
And you're watching Eclectic Arts Media.
You're not everybody's cup of tea, and that's fine because I don't drink tea anyway. I'm a coffee drinker, so like whatever, you know. When you have limited time, you're just like, I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna go into the woods, I'm gonna film myself.
Aloha, I'm Jake Shimobukuro, and you're watching Eclectic Arts Media.
I think I forgot your question, but I went on a different path, but it felt great.
And I need to keep as much hair as possible because, particularly in Hindley Street, no one's got hair. You'd fit right in, Mark. So
we have it's a run-in right now. Do you see who's coming down the ramp? Holy shit! I see.
We got a surprise Royal Rumble entry.
It's HALCON Negro.
Hell yeah!
What's going on, Mark? How are you doing?
Good. How are you, HALCON?
Great.
That's awesome.
I heard we're gonna be talking about some wrestling.
Oh my God. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. I'm Mark Sugiyama from Eclectic Arts Media based here in Seattle, Washington. And thank you so much for joining me on this Thursday, the 21st of August, 2025. And I'd like to thank Tiffany Time for just joining me about 2 hours ago. It was great catching up with her. It was her second interview with me this year. And we're already talking about scheduling a third one for later in the year. Terrific guest. She's got a really wonderful YouTube channel if you want to see some fantastic hikes that she goes on. And like I mentioned in her interview, they're the right amount of length. They're like maybe 10 minutes, so you really get a flavor, but you're not like watching something for an hour and a half or 2 hours. And she travels all over the world for these hikes. And then if you're on the adult side of things and you like things a little spicy, she has her fan sites and all of that content. Very intentional with what she does, and just a really well put together person. So I always enjoy having her. So thank you, Tiffany. And I do have a few other live streams that I have that I'm working on. So nothing's confirmed yet, but when it is confirmed, I'll be posting it on my Instagram, which is Eclectic Arts Media, one word. And then some of that information will migrate over to other social media platforms. If this is your first time joining me on my YouTube channel, if you do me a huge favor, please hit the subscribe button as well as the notification bell. And if you're over on the Twitch side of things, if you could follow me over there, I'd appreciate that. And if you really want to help support the channel, this streaming service costs me money every month. And there's a PayPal me and a Venmo link in every YouTube description of my live streams. So every dollar helps. So don't feel that you have to donate 5, 10, 20. I'm not going to say no to that. But if you have a dollar to donate, that's great. But it's only if you're in a position to do so. I don't ever want somebody to go beyond their means. But yeah, it's been great being back in the live stream world. For those that maybe haven't seen me for a bit, I took about a 2-month break or so. But once I got back into it, I want to say this might be like live stream number 9 within like about 3 weeks. So I've just been kind of hitting it hard. I love doing these. I have a lot of commitments outside of here at events that I go to in person, still reviewing films. I just watched one the other night. I've got another one to watch actually today. But all the things that make me Eclectic Arts Media is what I love doing. And when I don't love it, then I won't do it. So thank you for joining me. All right. My guest today, first joining me last year for a handful of live streams. If I remember right, it was 2 interviews and a fun table session. He was a great guest, and it was fascinating hearing the details about being a luchador. He joined me as a surprise guest, which we showed in that video clip earlier this year, which worked out extremely well. Please welcome back to the Eclectic Arts Media virtual studio, HALCON NEGRO.
Hey, Mark, how are you doing? Thanks for having me back.
I am doing great, HALCON. How are you?
I am amazing. Every day of my life is the best day of my life.
That's awesome, man. And so it's good to see you. Like I mentioned, that surprise run-in that we did on Drez. It worked out so well.
Oh yeah, that was a ton of fun. He was such a huge wrestling fan, and it was just an amazing time talking with him.
Yeah, absolutely. And I got lucky that can't remember if it was my mom or somehow I managed to see that episode that he was talking about on TV where he was like a cop or an officer or whatever.
Yep, Will Trent.
Yeah, exactly. So that was pretty cool to see him like getting. I think he had to go get tacos or something. His character had to do something like that. Yeah, so I saw that you have some events coming up locally, and we're going to talk about things prior to that. But that's front and center. So it's this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. What do we have coming up on Saturday to start with?
Oh yeah, so Lucha Libre Volcanica out in Carnation, Washington is on Saturday, and then Sunday, Lucha Libre Volcanica in Lake City. Two amazing shows. Lucha Libre Volcanica always puts on the best entertainment for the people here.
Awesome. Now, have you ever wrestled out in Carnation?
I have not. I've never been to Carnation. So it's at Remlinger Farms.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's correct. I've never been there, but they're having a music fest out there, and from what I understand, it's going to be a really great event.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that's I haven't been out to the farm out there, but that's also where STG built a pretty big music concert area. Plus, there's the farm. There's some other things out there, and the weather's supposed to be like in the upper 80s on the weekend. So you should have a lot of people there for sure.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a great time.
Yeah, and then like you mentioned, you're going to be in Lake City, Washington on Sunday. I was there last year. I remember I got to see you wrestle. And it sounds like it's in the same location, which is related to, for those that are local here, to Jalisco's off Lake City Way. There's a building that you can't miss it, basically. You'll see a group of people surrounding a ring.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that one always brings the people out. It's in the perfect neighborhood, perfect group of fans. They love it.
Yeah, I remember my mom and I, we were looking for parking and we couldn't find anything too close. And then by the time we got there, like, dang, look at all these people here, which was really great. I love it. It's more fun, obviously, for wrestling matches when there's, the bigger the audience, the better for me. And I think it's better for you guys as well, because then you feed off the audience.
Oh, yeah. And this one is great because it's a free event. So everybody comes, everyone brings their family, and they're all surrounding the ring. So the people are right there in the action, and it doesn't get any better.
Yeah, and I remember even there were some people that were just like walking from wherever to maybe to Lake City Way, like from the residential thing, and they're doing this. They're looking over like, what's going on over there? So then they walked over and didn't realize it was going on, but then they stayed.
Oh yeah, nothing attracts people like a wrestling ring.
Yeah, and I have just a random thing about that. I remember last year that when you guys were high flying and flying outside of the ring, that there weren't any mats. It was strictly concrete. Is that on purpose, or are there going to be mats this year? Or
oh no, that's one thing about Lucha Libre is we put the ring wherever, and we are flying no matter what it's sitting on. If it's concrete, asphalt, gravel, grass, it doesn't matter. We're going out there.
Okay, because I kept thinking, man, can't they put some mats around this ring or something?
Hey, that's part of what makes the luchadors so tough.
There you go. Yeah, because I remember seeing you jump out when you're, I think you're against Ave Rex at the time, and it's like if he doesn't catch you, that's gonna be kind of bad.
Oh yeah, even rolling away. There's those little gravel rocks that get stuck in you, stuck in your back. Doesn't feel good.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, oh gosh. But as you said, that's part of the luchador wrestling gig of that you're going to get out there and give the fans a show, no matter what the conditions or the circumstance or anything. It's like we're all about making sure that we put on the best matches possible.
Oh yeah, it's always for the people. Always for the people.
Yeah, and again, for folks that are local, the Sunday show is free, and it's at 5 p.m. And again, it's supposed to be really kind of warmer than normal for us. so you don't have to worry about the weather, taking a turn on you. And it's a good time. There's kids. Every age group's there at these. If you haven't been to one before, so it's a really good way to check things out. Help celebrate the summer as we're kind of coming around the bend to September. I've always had a good time at all the Luche Libre Volcanica events.
Oh yeah.
And for me, I have it on my schedule, so hopefully I can make it. I've been full transparency, a little under the weather, so.
Hey, I was actually just thinking of the conversation we had a few months back, preparing for this interview. I was looking, and I have about 12 shows booked out from now throughout the end of the year through November, and one of them is in Richland for Reactivate on September 14th, and Chavo Guerrero is going to be wrestling at that show. And I just thought, I was thinking about it, and I just sent you a picture not too long ago of me and Chavo when you sent me one of you and Eddie and Chavo. And I thought, wow, I wonder if me and Mark manifested this.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really, yeah, maybe we did manifest that. Yeah, I absolutely remember sending. We were exchanging pictures about those moments, and you told me the story of how you met him backstage.
Yeah.
And that's great that you're going to be on a card with him.
Yeah, 20 years later, who would have thought it?
Better late than never.
That's right.
That's interesting that you have so many events already booked out this year.
Oh yeah. After I graduated in June, my schedule sort of opened up, and I had much more time to get out there and wrestle and that kind of thing. So I've always whether it's the military or after that finishing up college, I always had a priority that supersedes wrestling. But my schedule is a little more flexible now.
Okay, well that's kind of like for me with the media outlet that I've always had a day job. So it's like, well, if something's going on with the day job, that pays the bills. So that has to take precedence. Even when I don't want it to, it still has to. That's just reality. But it's great. It's great that you have a little bit more time in your schedule. And we're definitely going to talk about your college degree and all the other things that come along with that, because that's a tremendous accomplishment. It's also kind of spread into other areas that we'll also talk about. But how has this year been so far? From like you said, you're usually so busy with everything else. You're a family man. You had college going on until you graduated in June. Has wrestling still been? How do you keep that a passion for you, having done it so long?
Well, it's really been one of the biggest parts of my life. And I was just having this conversation with Professor Jose Gomez, who runs Luche Libre Volcanica. And I was talking to him about how Lucha Libre became such a huge part of my life. Even when I was in the military, once I found Lucha Libre, it opened up a whole new world that, I felt like it was inside of me, just waiting to come out. And I started at Lucha Libre Volcanica almost 15 years ago, before we were doing the shows that Evolved in Seattle. And when we started, we were doing maybe 4 shows a year, something like that. And so when I started doing Lucha Libre, it wasn't even about sort of becoming a star or wrestling on all these shows. It was just about going to training and being there with the professor and the trainers and learning the culture and the traditions of Lucha Libre, and really taking all that in. So, it's just been a part of my life that I've never let go since I started.
Okay, so it's just like kind of like the air you breathe and the blood that goes through your veins. It's like a part of who you are, and it's going to stay there, is my guess.
Oh yeah, I think probably the rest of my life, and hopefully, I already had one son who got in the ring, to wrestle. So hopefully one of the other kids shows an interest and wants to get in there also.
Yeah, I mean, it could get to a point where you have like this whole dynasty of of your family wrestling.
Yeah. And it's, it's almost like any other sport to where, the lessons that you learn are more than just, what you're doing in the ring, but it's the discipline, the eating well, the training, all of that stuff that, really plays a part in it that can help you in so many different areas of your life.
Yeah, see, that's an interesting point. It sounds, the guest I just had on 2 hours ago, also former military, also very disciplined with what she does with her hiking, and she works out, and you can tell, I mean, she's got a six-pack, the whole 9 yards, and is just very goal-oriented with what she does in her life. And little did she know that's a lot of things that she's doing. All these other kind of areas start opening up that also are improvements to what she does, and also the people around her. And so it sounds like Luche is the same thing for you.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's to get in there and get in the ring and do what we do. You have to be in shape, and you have to be disciplined to work out every day, to eat right, to work on your mobility, your cardio, because when we're in there, we're running, like we're moving. And for one, you have to breathe, and two, you have to breathe through a mask, which limits everything, limits your vision, limits your air intake. So you have to be in really great condition to get in there and, be moving for a good 20 minutes, and it's a lot. It takes a lot. But, the military prepared me, training, with Volcanica prepared me, and here we are.
Yeah, definitely for someone that's been to matches over the years, you don't ever want to see a wrestler who's gassed. It's just like the illusion goes away if someone's like literally like breathing so heavy and it's not part of a work. Like they're really like they're that out of shape that they can't keep up in the ring. Then it becomes well, how are you going to beat this guy then if you can't even hit the ropes a few times without taking a huge breath?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's a responsibility that you have as a wrestler, sort of similarly like when you're in the military. You want to be as superhuman as you possibly can. When you're in the military, when you tell someone that you were in the army or something, you want them to be able to look at you and say, okay, I can see it. I can see this guy's a soldier. The same with being a wrestler. When they see you in the ring, or if they see me here doing an interview or something, I want them to look at me and say, okay, I can tell this guy's a wrestler.
Yeah, and there's also, I just was thinking too, in addition to that, with the wrestling part, there's a huge safety piece that if you're not in shape and you're basically like two actors in a play, you've got to be able to work with your fellow wrestler or wrestlers in some cases if you're tag teaming, and you got to make sure that in some cases their life is in your hands, and if you're not ready to catch them or do whatever it is so that they don't hurt themselves or potentially end their life, that's a huge responsibility.
Oh yeah, and being fit and being prepared is just it's gonna benefit you so much. When I broke my neck while I was in the army, I was in such good shape. And when you hear stories of wrestlers or people that are in accidents and they say, oh, the doctor said you'll never walk again, or the doctor said you'll never wrestle again. I've never had any doctor tell me anything like that. They've all been so positive. When I broke my neck, they said, hey, we're going to operate on you, and don't worry, you're going to be just as good as new. Everything that you were doing before, you'll be able to do again. And the same with when I've torn my ACL 3 times, and each time the doctor said, don't worry, you're going to be as good as new. You're going to be out there in no time. And I think a big part of that is because I was already fit going into surgery. You know what I mean? That I was ready. The doctors knew, hey, this guy's a hard worker. I'm going to do my part. He's going to do his part, and he'll be out there again.
That's a real distinct truth for sure, that the level of fitness that you've kept with your body, that when things do come to a surgical standpoint, that's going to help you tremendously versus someone who's not in shape or who hasn't been doing any level of fitness, and then they have to have something similar. They may not have the same recovery. It may take them that much longer. All kinds of things. Think about like professional athletes, like in football, who tear an ACL. Yeah. And some of those guys bounce back, quicker than even the doctors thought. It's like, well,
oh yeah,
look at them.
Yeah, I saw. So Adrian Peterson was a running back in the NFL, and he shredded his knee. Similar to the last time I injured my knee, I tore my ACL, MCL, and meniscus. And but I was watching, and this is I was stationed in Korea at the time. And I was watching his rehab videos, and I did a lot of the same exercises he did, rehabbed real hard. And Korea is a 1-year tour. And I had my surgery halfway through. And before I left, I was already running again. And a lot of the people there that were stationed with me were just kind of amazed. And they were, awestruck, like, man, how did you do that? And I said, hey, Adrian Peterson did it, and I said, we're the same as them. I could do all the same exercises, all the same rehab. He's doing it in $1 million NFL facility. I'm doing it in a small gym here in Korea on an army post. But you can always put in the same effort, the same work as anybody that you see on TV,
Yeah, that's a really good point. And that's actually somebody that I was immediately thinking about, was Adrian, and the fact that he came back from a timeline that was almost cut in half.
Yeah.
It was like, holy crap. And then he's out there, taking hits and doing everything that, NFL players do again. And you had another good point about it. You don't have to have their facilities. You have the basic needs, locally for you. You just have to put in the work.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And that's, I always think of that when, like, sometimes a lot of people ask me, like, oh, are you ever going to make it to WWE or something like that, And I'll tell them, you know what? I'm having just as much fun as those guys are on TV, here, locally. And I get to see my family every day. You know what I mean? I get to, like, I'm living my dream while, being here with my family every day, every night.
Yeah, and that's another good point. I mean, for folks that are in WWE, I've seen many, many, many documentaries, and all they talk about how hard it is because they're on the road so much. And some of them they have a partner. They don't even have children or anything. So it's even like, how do you see them? Or like, I think that one that they had with Ric Flair, he always talked about, honestly, he wasn't a father. He wasn't there.
Yeah.
He was out in the road. Plus he was partying and doing all kinds of other crazy shit. But just the fact that the time away, it was so grueling that it's like there's no way for you to actually manage any of this kind of stuff. So you have the best of both worlds going on in your particular case.
Oh yeah, I missed enough time while I was in the army, that now I'm so blessed to be able to live my dream in the wrestling ring, have my kids be a part of it. They get to come out to the shows, and I'm here every day, watching them, taking care of them. And it doesn't get any better than that,
You struck that balance that unfortunately some people don't have in their life, or sometimes they choose not to have it in their life. But you're kind of like, here's my priorities, and I'm gonna make sure I have time for all of it.
Oh yeah, I mean, you gotta think of what's important, and it's always got to be family. Family always has to be number one, because at the end of the day, when you look back on your life and you look at all the things you've done, all the accomplishments you've had, all the accolades you've had, none of it is going to be as important as, your wife and those 5 little kids looking up at you, and you want to make sure that you were there for them, because that's what's, really important.
Yeah, and that's well said. I mean, I think I'm not a parent myself, but for other people that are, they kind of realize that all these other things outside of, if it's career, if it's hobbies, if it's traveling or whatever, that stuff can all disappear, and then what's left, it's your family. So if you didn't take care of the family part of it, this stuff doesn't really matter.
Oh yeah.
So, and I have to ask you, I'm sure other people might be wondering this too. How the heck do you keep your sanity with 5 kids?
Well, I'm telling you, there's nothing greater in this world than being a parent. I'll tell you. And so, I mean, we have our oldest, and our kids are all spread out. So our oldest is 23 and he's moved out of the house. Our youngest is 4. We just never stopped having them, and it's boy, 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 girl. And so, our baby is the girl, and the light of our life, it's really amazing. But one thing that I really try to focus on is I don't forget what it was like when I was a kid, and so, listening to them, playing with them, understanding them, and not being, too, you got to strike the balance between discipline and compassion, because, you got to remember what it was like being a kid. And kids today are facing so many challenges that, you just really want to be there for them and raise them up to be great people.
Absolutely. And you kind of hit the nail on the head. Kids that are coming up today, I mean, it's almost to the point where I can't even understand what it must be like to have, social media and the internet and just all these other kind of weird pressures around you when you're going to school that, smartphones that I never had to deal with at all.
Oh yeah, it's wild. My son saw Snoop Dogg on either, I can't think of what the game is that he was playing. It was some video game, but he saw Snoop Dogg on there, and I said, "Do you know who that is?" That guy was a rapper when I was a kid. And he's like, "What? How do you know that song, Dad?" And yeah, so they're getting information overload, and I mean it's a challenge though, because as a parent you got to really monitor what they're watching, what they're seeing online, because there's just so much stuff out there.
Yeah, I know like some of the local school districts have that whole thing where they've instituted like there's no phones during school time. So once they get there and once they leave, and it's become kind of a controversial issue. But and having been a former school teacher, I understand both sides of that. It's like, how do you deal with this when these phones, even if they're not going off in your room, but they're constantly doing this under their desk or they're sending texts or whatever, and then at the same time it's like, well, some of the kids are going to be responsible not to do that during class. They're going to do it during lunch or during breaks or whatever. But then, like you just said, how do you monitor that? What are they sending? What are they sending it to? Who's taking pictures of stuff that they're not supposed to be taking pictures of? And
yeah, it's the wild, wild west out there now.
Yeah, that's what I'm like, man, I can't imagine, again, if I had one child to monitor for that, let alone 5. Well, and like you said, one's not in the house now, but still 4 or even 3, still a lot of monitoring.
Oh yeah. Well, so we do no phones until they become teenagers.
Okay.
So I think that's a pretty good rule that I think most parents can agree with,
Yeah, I just thought about that. My cousin last year, who's down in California, she came up and she's got 2 kids, and one is like high school now, and the other one will be going into high school this year. But when I saw her, she didn't have a phone, because parents said, you're not getting a phone until if it's 15 or whatever age it was going to be. So she was always bugging her mom, can I borrow your phone? Because she wanted to play games on it or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're like, we can monitor that because I can always say no to her.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's got to be a big emphasis on, just stimulating kids' minds without technology. My 8-year-old, this summer, we taught him how to play chess, and he loves it. So, there's all kinds of things that can stimulate kids' minds. Aside from being stuck to a screen.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And even like, going to see, Lucha Libre outside, that's going to be at least 2, if not 3 hours of time when you can watch something and just be away from, the technology crap and everything. Although they're probably gonna be like this, filming stuff.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Yeah. Now when you go to a concert or a show, instead of a sea of lighters, there's a sea of phones.
Yeah, it's definitely a different era, and you and I have definitely talked about like our music backgrounds and love of concerts and things that we came up with since we're in the same ballpark age-wise. And I always realize when I go to concerts now, I was just at one like 3 weeks ago, and I know it was going to be a crazy, people slamming into each other kind of show. But I'm like, as soon as people start slamming into my back, I'm kind of like, yeah, I'm getting too old for this shit.
Oh, yeah.
But having said that, I still could have moved to the back where I would have gotten slammed into. I chose to be in the front. So, but I don't do that at every show. It's like, this band, I'll do that for. I'll sacrifice my body. These other ones, nah. You guys have fun. But I understand. Like, there's another artist that I like, and she's coming in October. I've seen her once. And her demographic's really young. It's like maybe even like middle school age young and high school kids. And so many of them, it's funny because seeing her live is their first concert, period. So I'll look online and they'll ask questions about what should I wear? And some of them get really involved, like, well, I know she likes ribbons, so I'm trying to create a dress that has ribbons on it, but are the ribbons too much? And what about my footwear? And blah, blah, blah. And people just tell them, wear whatever you want. Just be comfortable. If you want to dress up and kind of show something, that you love this artist so much and try to look like her and emulate her, that's fine, but you don't have to. You can wear your jeans and a t-shirt. It doesn't matter.
It's like the old Madonna days. Everyone trying to look like Madonna.
Yeah, that's a really good comparison. That's exactly what it was like, because there's all these little mini versions of Leve running around at her shows. But then they'll have their phones out and they're trying to do the pictures and how did that one look? And then they're actually trying to upload stuff before the band comes on. And I was like, oh my God, I can't imagine being a parent of a teenager right now.
Oh yeah, I feel like we grew up at the perfect time, like just the perfect time. To experience everything, fully.
It's funny, you don't realize it at the time as you're living through that, like let's say the 80s and even into the 90s. But then when you look back on it, you're like, yeah, the way that the world progressed, I actually had a really fortunate time to be alive and experiencing these things, because it could be like what people are dealing with now, where I think it's almost soulless when people are like at a concert, for example. There's so much of the phone, so much of them not even talking to the people either that they came with or even just other fans near you, because they've lost that art of conversation. Or they're just being rude in some cases. It's a mix of things, but it's like, what are you taking away from this show? So like tomorrow when you talk to me about how was Leve at Climate Pledge Arena, what are you going to tell me? Because I have a feeling you're not going to know, oh, it was fun, I really liked it. Okay, specifically, what did you like? They probably couldn't tell me because they're too busy doing this stuff.
Oh, yeah. Like, it seems like concerts used to be this big, like, event that you would experience together, and it would bring everybody together. Everyone's looking at the same thing, absorbing the same thing at the same time. And, that kind of energy is, powerful, to where now, like you said, everyone's in their own little bubble, experiencing it as an individual, which really takes away.
Yes, I completely agree with that. That's a really astute assessment that the collective used to be, like I've seen the same thing, people asking online about, my favorite band's coming, but none of my friends like the music, so I don't want to go. I don't want to go by myself, but I don't have any other choice. Should I go? And everybody always says, yes, go to the show, and you're going to be a fan. You're absolutely going to meet other people if you're open to it in line or just, buying souvenirs or whatever, buying food, that they're all basically there for the same reason you are. They love the band. And if you talk to them, you start geeking out about the same stuff because that's all you like. Same with wrestling. If you start talking to a wrestling fan because you're there by yourself, there's a good chance that they're there because they love wrestling.
Yeah. My first concert, I think we spoke about it before, but my first concert was Def Leppard. And, I was in middle school and I can still remember just like, being washed over with their sound and the laser lights that they had, shooting over our heads. And it was just like unreal. I loved that band, watching them on MTV, and then to see it in person, so loud, so many people cheering, screaming for them. It was amazing.
Yeah, and like you were saying earlier, that collective energy from the crowd to the band and the band to the crowd, and everybody just kind of focused on the same thing because you're there to have such a good time with the band. That energy, and that, granted, I mean, it still happens sometimes nowadays in 2025, but there's too many times when it doesn't happen because, like you were saying, people are kind of in their own little bubble, and in those days, you really couldn't be in your own bubble unless you distinctly were trying to be, antisocial or something.
Yeah. Now there's an option for it to happen. Back then, you had, you're forced to be, you're there. There's nothing else you can do. You've got to absorb it. You've got to listen.
Yeah, and I mean, like before the first band comes on, and you're sitting around, you didn't have something to look at to pass the time. Yeah. You had people. That was it.
You had to talk to the other people, like, hey, where did you come from? Where did you hear this band first? And yada yada yada.
Yep, and I don't know if I know I've told this story, but I don't know if I told it during one of your interviews that back in 1996, when Kiss did their reunion tour with the original 4 members, they played at the Tacoma Dome. And my friend that I've known since elementary school, we were all jazzed about, the original members are finally back and get to see them. We had seen them back in the day in '79 with those same 4 people. But we got to Tacoma Dome early, and we're walking around, and here's the section where we're going to be sitting, and there's 2 dudes sitting in the middle of a row. And I remember I leaned over to my friend and I said, I bet you anything we're sitting right next to those guys. And we were walking down the steps looking at our tickets and kind of saying, oh, yeah, we're in the same row. And I'm looking at the seat numbers. And I told my friend, why don't you go? Because he was in front of me. And he said, no. So he got behind me and made me go into the row. I'm like, whatever. So go chair by chair by chair by chair. Sure enough, right next to those guys. And they were probably like maybe 15, if not maybe 20 years younger than both of us. Yeah. And, I just, hey, what's up? And just talking to them again, no phone, no nothing else. And they were so stoked because they finally get to see the original 4. So then I can say, hey, not to brag or anything, but I got to see them in 1970. And they're like, oh, right, really, you did? So we're just geeking out about the band and what they're looking forward to. And it was just, we just kind of bonded that way. And then you get other people kind of sitting around you, and they might overhear you talking about stuff. Oh yeah, I saw that show, or I saw that video. And I miss that because it used to happen pretty much at every show.
Oh yeah. Yep. And that's, I mean, I don't know if it'll ever be that way again, because everyone is just glued to their phone. Yeah, and granted, I'm guilty too. I definitely film stuff with my phone, but it's also, I think it's also a mentality that the younger generation, unless their parents instill it in them, I think they just don't have it. It's very much about their own little, expedition to see this live concert thing that I've heard about, and I don't know what to expect. And granted, if it's like I've mentioned this too with other people with Libre, since her fan base is so young. I don't approach her fans because it looks a little creepy to me. If there's some 16-year-old girl who doesn't know me standing around with little ribbons in her hair, like dress that she made, unless she asks me something or her friends say something, I'm not going to just interject something about her. Or, I really like what you're wearing. No, I'm not even going to do that. Yeah.
But if you're a full-grown adult, at least in your 20s or older, then that's a little different too. But even then, I'm still going to be, as respectful as possible. But any kind of minor, yeah. But sometimes mom and dad are with the minor, and that's a little different because then they might be my age, and we can kind of talk. That happened at the concert 3 weeks ago. There's a mom and dad, and their kid was maybe 10 years old, I'm guessing. And I talked to them after the show since I knew the band really well, and I had the media stuff. And I said, hey, if you ever want to talk to Alex, who's the singer, I'm going to be doing an interview with him. So you can either ask your question off camera if you don't want to be filmed, or if you want to be on camera, you can be immortalized in the band's interview. And turns out that both the parents were teachers. So then, of course, I mentioned, well, I used to be a teacher, what do you teach, all this kind of stuff. And we had a good time. Unfortunately, they couldn't hang around that long because it was going to take a long time after the show before we could do the interview. But if I see them at another show, and especially if I see that kid, it's going to be like, hey, you want to go meet the band right now? I think it's one of those opportunities that I never got as a kid. So when I see it, it's like, hey, if I can be the conduit to it, I'll absolutely do it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you got to start those kids off loving the music early. I think our oldest son was 10, and we took him to a Rob Zombie concert, and he loved it. It was one of those sort of Halloween festival type shows. So like Black Label Society was there, and all these different bands. I think Alice Cooper was with them, and but it was just cool. We all dressed up in Halloween costumes, and took him out there. It was pretty cool.
That's cool. See, that's parenting done right.
Yeah. You got to expose the kids to all kinds of stuff, see what they like.
Yeah, and especially when it's, with parents that are there. So you're both enjoying it, and you can kind of see how your kid or kids are enjoying it. And at some point, then you can kind of start trusting who they're with, with their friend base, and maybe they're going to go to shows on their own as they're older and all that kind of stuff. But they also got a chance from the ground up to see what a show's like with you, and how you conducted yourself and kind of things that you do, so that they can take that knowledge forward when you're not around them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because there's been too many. There's been a couple of times where there's been some kids that are by themselves, and you could tell they look uncomfortable at a show. Especially you got grown adults that are getting drunk and getting all crazy and stuff. And you see other fans who sound, are you all right? Is everything okay? Do you need anything? And being truly welcoming to them. They're not looking for anything. They're not trying to take advantage of the kid, but you can just tell on their face. And sometimes I'm one of those people. I'll ask, doing okay? Are you here by yourself? Is it just kind of freaking you out? All this kind of stuff. It might be just kind of, sometimes they don't even speak. It's kind of like, yeah, but you clearly must love the band. That's why, yeah, I love so-and-so. I was like, okay, well, just kind of mind your business and, keep your eyes and ears open, and you'll still have a good time. Just don't be as naive as you're coming across. But I, just like you mentioned, you brought your oldest to concerts early. I went to my first concert when I was 9. Of course, my mom was there, an older neighborhood friend was there. Then my brother was going to things with my mom and I, and then as I got older, my circle of friends, and we're going to stuff. But I'd been enough shows that kind of think, man, some of these things are crazy. They're a little scary.
Oh yeah, we used to go to Ozfest every year, and that's a wild time.
Yeah, any of that stuff, and it's so crazy that we don't have him anymore.
Yeah. Me and my buddy were talking about when the last time we saw him at Ozfest, he played the second stage, and we were right there in the front row. And I found some footage that somebody had uploaded on YouTube, and it's, I think this was like 2006 or something like that. And the footage is so bad and the sound is so awful. But, I sent it to my buddy, and I was like, look, man, we were there, And I mean, it was cool just to see that because, I didn't have a cell phone back then. So, I wasn't recording anything. And, it was just cool to kind of see some footage of it,
Absolutely. I've got some friends around here. Some of them are in the media world that also grew up here. And so we'll swap stories about like what shows did you go to, and especially since we know the local venues that were here at the time. And so if we find anything online or something that's physically like at a store for whatever weird reason, even like the 1979 Kiss show, I found something that was on TV, like a little 5-minute spot. It's like, oh my gosh, that's the show I was at.
Yeah.
And it's so cool. Or like somebody has some kind of paper clipping that they scanned and stuck on the internet. So, oh yeah, there's that. There's the Coliseum and stuff.
Every once in a while, I'll go on YouTube and look at, I don't know if you remember, but in 1997, Blockbuster did the Rock Fest down at the Texas Motor Speedway. And it was like just a huge, huge concert. I think Bush headlined it. But I'll go watch some footage of that because we were there, you know, and I just think, oh my God, I can't believe we were in that sea of people.
Yeah, that's, and I've mentioned this before on some of my live streams, that when Metallica did the 1989 Damaged Justice tour and they played the Sale Coliseum here two nights in a row, my buddies and I were there for, I want to say it was night 1, and then my other buddy bought my ticket for night 2. I actually had a ticket, and that first show had sold out. And that's the footage they ended up putting into their live shit binge and purge box. So when people talk about Seattle 89 and they show those, that's all over YouTube, the whole concert's there. I'm like, I'm in that mess of people because I was on the floor in the pits. I'm down there somewhere. And I remember that well because we ran into other guys because we had just gotten out of high school. So there's some other dudes that I didn't hang out with, but I recognized them from high school, and they're all in the pit. We're all like, it was like a weird high school reunion or something at that show. But yeah, I watch it now. I'm like, oh my God. I mean, I don't think you could pay me to be in that now. But at the time, it's like, yeah, let's go.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I couldn't get into some big old sea of people. We went to the Rainiers game last night, and that's enough people for me.
Yeah, good. There's with baseball, I didn't know they existed. There's this collegiate level team called the Fish Sticks in White Center. And they're really starting to gain a lot of traction just because they do a lot of fun things in between the innings, and it's very, very family oriented, just kind of like how the Aqua Sox are up north. And, you know, the Rainiers are more professional level because of AAA. Yeah. Still family oriented, of course, but yeah, the Fish Sticks are pretty funny. But they also have some really good players, and I went down there for the first time this season. I'll definitely go back next season. They only play mainly about 2 months worth, so like middle of June to early August is their season. And some of these college athletes will go back to their colleges. Some of them are at like JUCOs, and then they get signed to a 4-year university to play baseball. So that's why they keep playing baseball during the summer to keep their skills up. And so, yeah, it was a lot of, I didn't know anything about it. And somebody was complaining about ownership with the Mariners, which is nothing new. And they said that, you know, when the season starts, I'm not giving $1 to the Mariners. I'm going to be going to the Frogs, the Rainiers, and the Fish Sticks. And I'm like, what the hell are the Fish Sticks? And then he explained what, because other people asked the same thing. He said, I didn't even know this existed. And he was talking about it. Sounded great. They have $3 Thursdays where you get like hot dogs and beer and popcorn and all this. It's all $3 a piece. So it was a nice alternative. And I know you're down south. You're further south than that, but at least it's not like coming all the way up to Everett or something.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I mean, going to the Rainiers game it's always fun. They always do so much stuff, and they have the playground there for the kids. And so, you know, we normally watch a little bit of the game, take the little ones down, let them play, then come back, you know, watch the end. So.
That's just like the Frogs in Everett. They got that big grassy area, and they'll have the bouncy houses, and you can toss the baseball, and just they realize that it's a family-oriented event, so you need things for the kids to do. You can't just expect them to sit for 3 hours or whatever and watch a baseball game. But as we get close to winding this down, as we were talking about, you've got 2 events coming up on Saturday, one in Carnation on Saturday, and then you're at Lake City on Sunday. And as a wrestler, as a luchador, are there things that you're trying to, maybe even specifically, even if it's a spot or just some other kind of thing that's not in your repertoire yet, that you're trying to achieve to keep adding to what you can do in the ring?
A little here and there, but at this point, at my age, if I can walk into the ring, or if I can walk out of the ring the way I walked into it, I'm happy. I'm happy. Yeah, but I mean, we always do, new moves and try new things. I'm not going too high risk nowadays, uh, because in a weird way, sometimes when you're doing the basic lucha libre stuff, it's exciting already, like as long as you're making everything look crisp and clean and, you're executing it well, all those things are, I mean, they're amazing in and of itself. And you don't have to, it's sort of like the Rock said, the Rock didn't have to do a backflip to get the big pop. He could get it with the elbow. And so I'm like at my age, I'm sort of in that mindset to where I can do, the things I do and wow the crowd, but I'm not, trying to kill myself out there. I want to live to fight another day.
You bring up a good point. Just the style of lucha libre is going to be exciting for people to watch versus like an American style of wrestling, which can get kind of clunky at times. And so the high spots are just like a bonus with lucha.
Oh, yeah, because it's already fast paced as it is. We're in and out, running back and forth, flipping around, diving around, and so that's it's always keeping the crowd entertained.
Yeah, and like we were mentioning, you have the show on Saturday and Sunday. Is there any kind of recovery routine you have to do after you've wrestled a match?
I get right back into the gym because to me, especially at my age, when I take time off, my body is gonna settle down and it's not gonna want to get back up. So, and so I've also I used to be a big runner and I've ran like 7 or 8 marathons. And when I first started doing that, like after I finished a marathon, I'd be like, oh man, I'm gonna eat the biggest hamburger I can find, and I would, just pig out. But then the older I got, I was like, you know what? I'm going to stay eating healthy. I'm not going to go back. And so that's sort of how I am now is, I wrestle, I get up, I stretch, I keep my body moving. If I'm sitting around too long, I'm just not going to want to get back up. If we're off for a few weeks, getting back in the ring is tough, because there's no exercise you can do that is gonna, get you ready to wrestle. Unlike, getting in the ring and wrestling and moving your body.
Okay, that's definitely a fair point. I know I've seen some folks when they're recovering from different surgeries in wrestling, and they always talk about the same thing that you talk. Yeah, they've got certain rehabs they do, but the ultimate rehab is they got to get in between those ropes and get themselves back up to speed. Otherwise, it's going to be kind of ugly.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's just nothing like it. There's nothing like, that unnatural feeling of, throwing your body around and, taking those bumps and building up that, that callus that you need on your body. It's just like football, nothing's gonna get you ready for football except practice and getting hit.
Yeah, that's true. I think anything that has any kind of physicality to it like that, where you're making contact with another person or an object of some sort, in this case the mat and the ropes, that nothing can mimic that other than the real thing.
Oh yeah.
Well, HALCON Negro, it was awesome getting a chance to reconnect with you. And again, for folks that they're local, you can go see some Luche Libre Volcanica on Saturday out in Carnation at Remlinger Farms. And then if you're over on Sunday at 5 p.m. in Lake City by Jalisco's, it's in the back part on the east side of Lake City Way. And you can look on social media. They already have posted things for both events if you're not quite sure of where to go. But it's a lot of fun. And again, the weather's supposed to be great out here. So you don't really have any excuses unless you're not feeling well like me. So we'll kind of see. I plan on trying to be there Sunday, but that's going to be probably a game time decision at this point.
They're listed as probable on the scouting report.
Yeah, and today's Thursday, so there's probably a pretty good chance that I'll be ready to go by then. Especially since it's at night, it's at 5. It's not like early in the morning or something where I'm like, I don't know if I can get out of bed yet. But again, thank you so much for taking the time. And my goodness, I forgot. We kind of touched on you getting your college degree, and then we veered off in these other.
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you, man, when we talk, it feels so natural and the time just flies every time.
I appreciate that, and I absolutely agree. So I guess that's a really good sign. I'll just have to remember that after we'll figure out a better time to have you come on, because I definitely wanted to talk about that, and we didn't get to it.
Oh yeah, go Huskies!
Yeah, and actually that'll be a good time because it could be maybe sometime in the fall when school's back, the full school's back in session at all the campuses for UW, and you can talk about your work with veterans and how everything just kind of what that meant to get your degree personally, but also where it went for you, and all kinds of other wonderful directions that helped out other people.
Yep. It was definitely an amazing experience. Can't wait to share it with you.
Okay, well then I'll make sure that we reconnect then, and we'll dive into all of that. I'll make sure to do that first so I don't run out of time. All right, I hope to see you on Sunday.
All righty, sounds good. Take care.
Take care.